Afternoon, everybody. Better believe it. What a show it's been. I'm Peter Boyles. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon now. It was about talking about talk, and we had packed guests, and we continue into the final hour. But we started with Joe Williams and Stephen Tubbs and Brother Jeff, Mandy Connell, Tom Martino stays with us. The guys that are doing the toy run, and again, reminding everybody, if you're a motorcyclist, December the 7th, we go to Children's, and it's a 40-year tribute, and Vinnie Terranova, and then Patricia Calhoun was with us. Jimmy's coming up, and the sheriff, Steve Reams, is coming with us. Tell you about Danny Kaplis, and then we'll wrap this puppy up and get a great hour. Kaplis Law Firm, and Dan suggests that you should choose an attorney who shares your values, and because what you do and who you choose representing you in an injury case speaks volumes about you. Kaplis is the son of a police officer, his former seminarian. He won the golf scholarship, came to see you. Just a hard worker and a great attorney. When we went through some stuff, he was there for my family, and he did the job. Dan Kaplis Law, official law partner now of the Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. And Dan Kaplis, of course, serious firm for serious cases. He's my friend. If you're in a jam, Danny accepts righteous injury cases on percentage fee basis. He can represent good people from all walks of life without, again, ability to pay. He's the man. Get Danny's help, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit Dan Kaplis Law. Danny's last name is spelled C-A-P-L-I-S, KaplisLaw.com. If you'd bring Jimmy up, ladies and gentlemen, in the studios, Tom Martino. And it's good to have, these are the young guys that are coming into the business. Jimmy Sengenberger is with us. James, good afternoon, and thank you. And Tom Martino's here, and we're talking about what we do about this business of talk radio. Jimmy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pete. Tom, so great to be with you.
Yeah, you too. I thought about you as one of the young guys coming in, and of course, we're going to get the sheriff on to tag out the show, and hope we can get Billy Thorpe in here too as well. You came into this business. You wanted to come into the business. Tom, I'm going to go to Tom for a second. I mentioned the dawn of a new radio era, a modern era. How much has it changed since you were Jimmy's age coming in?
Oh, it's a completely different ballgame, completely. And they have the advantages that they're entering with the rules in place. We had to adapt from old school to current school. And Peter, that's really difficult if you think about all of the changes we've seen. I think in some cases it's better to already be bathed in today's technology and trends and social media and then dive into talk radio. Jimmy's going to have a much fresher perspective and a much more accurate assessment of his audience than we do. Because our audience is growing older and going away, where the new audience is coming up, Jimmy would be in tune with them.
James, yours. What do you think?
Well, I want to go back to my start for a moment, because really it begins when I was in college at Regis University, 2008 in the fall. I was a freshman, height of what I call Obama mania. And I started a conservative talk show on the station there at Regis, 93.9 KRCX, The Real Deal. And the actual broadcast, and this goes to the point of some of the changes that have happened in terms of the medium, the actual broadcast itself didn't go beyond basically the campus, because it was just a small FM band. But the people that would listen, for the most part, as I grew my show and really expanded it into something that was listened much more by people off campus, I'll be honest, than on campus, was through online streaming. My grandfather in Albany, New York, would listen to my show every week.
That's great.
As I was interviewing people and so forth. So I've always, literally from day one, been doing some form of streaming in that way. And then a couple years later, I was 20, just turned 20, still at Regis, and I fill in on KFKA in Greeley for Amy Oliver, now Amy Oliver Cook. And that was my first time doing any AM fill-ins. And then really when I made the jump into Denver, Ross Kaminsky, who I fill in for on KOA, he was on KNUS doing Sunday nights. I graduate from Regis University in May of 2011. I'm not 21 yet. That day, I fill in for Ross on KNUS, and then that's when I start becoming a regular fill-in for Steve Kelly, and things grow, and eventually I get my show on KNUS and so forth. And what I find really interesting, because now I've been doing AM radio for over 15 years, is the dynamics that you guys were talking about. I heard some of the last hour that have really revolutionized the conversation. Not only are people listening who are local, but they're listening from all over the country and the world, hearing local Colorado takes from us there. And that's one of many ways in which things have been very revolutionized, not to mention podcasts and the rest.
Yeah, but overall, while the variety and the demographic of the audience changed because of we're talking about broadband basically and streaming. Yeah. It's gotten smaller in general. We have a larger reach for absolutely sure. I agree. But the raw numbers are way smaller than they used to be because of all of this fragmentation of the industry.
Competition, as we know, and it used to be, Jimmy, it's Peter. Boy, when the book came, when the ratings came, and the folks that are from the outside of the business, 4 times a year, actually once a month, you would get weighed and measured. And
sometimes our bonuses depended on it.
I told you the first time I got fired, I thought it was a bonus. But they put me in the street. But the book would come, and it would come on the fax machine.
Yeah.
And everybody would stand in a big circle and grab the pages and look at them and how you were and how you weren't. I don't think anybody gives a rat patoot now about the ratings, do
No
they?
one sells on ratings.
All right, so they don't sell ratings anymore. We sold ratings, Jimmy. They would take us out and do that. So we have this competition of streaming and podcasting.
And that can't be measured. So you can't measure the downloads. I mean, you can see a raw number, but you can't necessarily when you look at the total audience and you try to compare it to Arbitron or Nielsen, you can't get a full measure of what the audience is. Like Jimmy says, his grandfather in Albany, he's not being measured.
He's not. And the advertising shifts. The advertisers are spending going to digital audio formats, the declining listenership. And you have witnessed, Jimmy, I know I have witnessed it, the financial pressure. And I was bringing this up, and I asked Tom off the air, what do you think a spot on the Fox when Lewis and Floorwax were on the top of their game? What do you think, Tommy or Jimmy? What do you think you paid for a 60 when Lewis and Floorwax were really on a roll?
I would say about $350 to $450.
What do you think you pay for that?
Now that's for a 60. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm not going to guess. I don't think I have enough frame of reference to say. So I'd be very curious if you have any idea. Pete, would you agree with what Tom just said?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And then nowadays spots you can buy in clusters.
Yep.
You can get them for as little as $50 a spot, and you pay as much as maybe $150.
So if you paid that then and you don't have to pay that now, that's just a reflection on what the business is saying. One of the things about the radio business and TV is it's a free market. I mean, guys know that when you go out, and back in the day when we would go and they would the ratings would come, Jimmy, and United Airlines was an example I'll give you, and they would say, we want to buy, the term they used was 3 deep, 2554. In other words, give me your number 1, number 2, number 3 in the market. That goes 3 deep, 2554, and then they'd have an agency, and the agency would have a rep from the radio station, and then we would all go to lunch, and they would get to know you, and you would get to know them, and then you would leave, or the next day they would talk money. They never talked money in front of you, unless it was a talent fee. But they wanted to know, and that's how it worked. Now, it's out the window. Tommy, how's it work now?
Well, here's how it works now. If you can move the product, you're going to get the business, and they do a lot of data mining to find out what is working. There's no longer the luxury of brand building over time, and they don't care about your numbers, Peter.
No, they don't.
We've always batted our average or our field. We've gone beyond our listenership, because all you need. Average time, the average quarter hour could be any number of people from different walks of life, and you could do a commercial in that average quarter hour, and then do it in another average quarter hour and get better results. It's not total numbers they care about. It's the response rate of the average quarter hour. That's why spots need to be moved around.
Absolutely.
And then when you sell it, you're selling it to a new audience every single time you do it. The worst thing that commercial people do, people selling spots, is they think they're talking to the same audience.
And they're not.
And their spots get tired.
Jimmy, your thoughts?
Well, I want to say that this, to me, just underscores why reach is important in a different respect, and that is multimedia. And I'll use myself as an example. My primary bread and butter in terms of, in part, reach is my columns. I'm twice weekly investigative columnist, Tuesdays and Fridays. My columns will go out in the Denver Gazette. And for a lot of people, and this kind of surprises me, it's become appointment reading, that they expect my column is going to be coming out, and I'm going to be covering topics, and I could give some examples that people are not talking about or covering other than me for whatever reason as I'm doing the investigative work. And so they have these certain expectations. But that is not at all, in my view, disconnected from the radio presence when I'm filling in on KOA or KHOW, or I'm joining Jeff and Bill to talk about a column or what have you. I'm always sort of interwoven into the two, and even broader than that, I will go on and I will promote when my Jimmy Jr. Blues Band has gigs. Shameless plug, tonight we're playing at Cactus Jackson Evergreen at 8 p.m. And I will promote that, and I will have listeners come to these gigs, dozen or more.
No, I hear you, and you're looking at your audience as a cohesive blend of people who are across media platforms listening or reading you, and it just unfortunately isn't that neat. I mean,
I'm not talking about that, but Tom, what I'm talking about is in this multimedia world where people are getting content that is so fragmented in many different positions, in order to be out in front of people, sometimes there's overlap, sometimes there isn't overlap.
That's right. Sometimes.
But you need to have that multimedia presence or you are dead right now.
That is exactly why I said when we introduced Jimmy, he is coming into the business with all of the new trends. He knows it. Natively, he knows it. He just knows it, whereas we, Peter, had to adapt and learn it. Do you know the difference? I mean, these kids, they don't think about multimedia platform. They don't think anything but multimedia.
You have been saying this since you got here, that radio's declining. Why is radio declining?
Because of all the options people have. I mean, like I said, there are so many podcasts. For lack of a better word, podcast is a radio show, and you have literally thousands of them.
But no constraints. One of the things that I've learned about doing a podcast with some listening, with a group of young guys asked me to come and be their guest, and the way they talked and the way they acted and the things they said, we could never do that. We could never do that. So back to Jimmy.
I want one example of Jimmy.
All right.
He doesn't have a corporation pushing him. Oh, he might do, for the Denver Gazette, he might do a column. He might do something else for somebody else. He might do something else for somebody else. But when it comes to promoting Jimmy, it's Jimmy. He's not dependent upon a station promoting him. He's not dependent on a brand promoting him. He becomes his own brand. So broadcasters nowadays, and not just broadcast, I even hate the term broadcasters, but media people, they have to be their own thing.
Right.
Their own thing.
Jimmy is
that's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head, Tom. You can't expect that your brand that you're associated with is going to do the kind of promotion that would really get you out there. That's why when I'm doing a radio show on social media, I'll have custom promo images that look really good, professional and nice that I'm creating and posting. Or this is part of why when I'm promoting a column, I'll want to get on radio shows and talk about it or what have you, and take that initiative, although a lot of times it isn't. Of course, people will come to you and say, hey, I saw your column. I wanted to have you on to talk about it. But when you are promoting yourself, honestly, it really is the only way to go. And from years of doing this, that's what I've learned. You can't rely on the brand or outlet that you're with to do anything for you in that regard.
Exactly.
If radio stations are changing and they're not dying, which AM stations are going off the air across the country, and people are losing stations because the audience that they once had switched to something else.
Right.
So
Right.
So what's happened to radio? James, what's happened to radio? Just in the
I think one of the things that Tom mentioned in terms of the options, that is a big component. I also think that it's not just having more options, but it is the fact that you don't have to just listen live. Like when I'm filling in and people want to hear me, the big reason they might want to catch me live is because that's the only time they get to hear the best bumper music known to man, which is part of the brand that I've cultivated over the years. And I'll have listeners text me saying, I love, so-and-so, but when you're on, the music's the best. You can't get that on the podcast, but unless you have a draw like that, and that's, a fraction of the audience anyway, that's going to want to tune in for that, why not wait and listen to the podcast later?
Fellas.
And then you forget about it, or you listen to some other podcast, or you're reading an article, or you're watching a TV show, or whatever it is. That certainly makes an impact. And then I'll say one other thing. I think for a lot of younger people, and this pains me to say as a millennial, radio is seen as sort of passé. Why am I going to listen to radio even on screen?
Absolutely. That you have to make yourself something else. One thing you were talking about, Jimmy, and one thing I think everyone needs to know, there is no audience loyalty except for a very small fragment. It used to be our P1s, Peter, were what drove us and followed us across platforms. You don't have audience loyalty. They have content loyalty. And if you hit content and a certain subject, they will follow you no matter who you are, whereas it used to be they followed the personality. Now they go more for content and virility.
I don't agree with that necessarily. Can I say why I don't?
Real quick.
And that's because of the nature of podcasting or the things at your fingertips, that those personalities, let's say you become familiar, like me at KNUS for 10 and a half years, you become very familiar with that person, and not just familiar, but you like them, you have that connection, all those things that we love about radio in terms of the audience. And then when they leave and do these additional things, or maybe have some components that they've already been doing, like columns or what have you, you have more ability to follow, not in great numbers, so I'm not saying
not in great numbers at all.
The numbers that you're talking about, but I would not discount the value of that, but it's only because of multimedia. And if you are effective at a multimedia approach, and then somebody realizes, oh, here's where you're filling
Jimmy,
in now,
I don't think we're disagreeing.
I'm going to move there.
I don't think we're disagreeing. I'm just saying audience loyalty is nothing like it used to be. It is a very small part of why people listen, because they're loyal to a talent. That's what I'm saying.
I'd leave you because I'm coming up on time, Jimmy. Is radio still as popular as it was?
Of course not.
Jimmy?
I would agree with Tom. Without a doubt, of course not. And that's why if you're going to be successful in any way, shape, or form, you need to make sure that you're cultivating that multimedia platform. Otherwise, it's just not going to get you anywhere.
Thanks, James. It was a good addition. Thank you very much. On the other side, the sheriff joins us. Tom Martino, Peter Boyles, Radio, 710 KNUS. Love it. Jacksonville. Huh? Jamming tune. 710 KNUS. Good afternoon, everybody. We got almost a little more. We got 30 and 44 minutes left in the show. Tom Martino, Peter Boyles. It was a great, great effort. Talking about talk. And Tommy, we were talking off air, and I said, next Saturday, it's the listener's turn to talk about talk. We've had so many great folks on. We're standing by for either Billy Thorpe or the sheriff to join us, and we'll do so. We're watching lights light up. Tom Martino, this has been a really great, fun show to do, and thank you for doing it, man. Really,
I love talking about the industry, and we have seen so many segments of it, and I'm telling you right now that it is completely different than it used to be. Radio cannot stand by itself without expanding into other distribution methods. We can't stand on our own. A broadcast signal off of a tower being received by radios, I mean, that is the minority of our listeners.
The radio in America has been so significant and so powerful in our lives. I was
key.
Tommy, man, growing up, I talk about it. The music was everything, and it was Cap in that song, the Club Cherry Bomb, and he says music was everything, and it was, and cars and music and everything that went with it, and it was radio, and then when we got into the business that we loved so much, and we worked our way, and I liked what you said. Jimmy comes into it, and I was raised by the guys that were, I'm waiting for the light to go green here. I was raised by the guys that were top 40 jocks.
Yeah.
Bob Lee and those guys, they were the guys that, they were the guys that we grew up on.
Yeah.
And they raised us. And we learned from them.
Yeah.
And I mean, the idea of working with somebody like a Hal Moore or Charlie Martin or Bob Lee or Uncle Mike McEwen, I can go down the list of these guys. And we got over to talk radio, and Berg's waiting, and all those guys were there. They taught us stuff. Who do we got? All right, this man has become not only a friend, but a great friend, and he's learning to do talk radio, and he's doing a pretty fair job. He, of course, is the Weld County Sheriff. His name is Steve Reams. Steve, good morning. Thanks for doing it. Good afternoon, and thanks for doing it. Talking about talk, and Tom Martino's in studio, and good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to both of you. It's kind of cool to be on the radio with a couple of talk radio guys.
Yeah. Well, now, you and I have become friends through some other things, but you now have stepped into the radio business as a brand new guy. We had Jimmy with us. Why and what have you learned?
Well, I never really saw myself doing talk radio. I've obviously done a bunch of interviews with different stations. That's really about the only way you can get the word out about what's happening in law enforcement or what's happening down at the state legislature to a mass crowd, in a short amount of time. And I'd obviously done Dan's show several times, and he called me up one weekend and just said, "Hey, what'd you think about filling in on the show?" And to be honest with you, I thought, well, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And then he started scheduling me, and I've loved it. It's been fun. I don't know if it's been fun for the listeners, but it's been fun for me. And and I enjoy it. It's something different. It's a way to get someone's message out. And in law enforcement, I love doing interviews of suspects. And I mentioned this to you. Sometimes interviewing politicians isn't much different. I thought it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I don't know if it becomes a career or anything like that for me, but learning the business in the way that I am is it's a change. It's fun. I don't know how you guys have done it for all these years and not lost your mind.
We have.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
It can be maddening sometimes. You think you got a great show going and it just doesn't resonate with the listeners, and then there's other things you throw out there, and my gosh, they just go haywire for it. And it's kind of, you just never really know what's going to hit, but it's been fun. It's definitely, it's less stressful than being a sheriff, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it can be, for sure. But I'll tell you what. Now, have you noticed, though, the trend that I've noticed that everything, including models who wear jeans and ads, everything is political. Everything.
Oh,
Everything.
Everything.
Absolutely, Tom. Yeah, and to the point where you're like, I don't even know why this is a topic.
Exactly. Or why it's political. Why did it heat up?
Yeah, and so going to that, when the text line starts, when it starts going crazy during a particular topic, it kind of makes you scratch your head and say, why do people even care about this? Why is this a topic that is even a point of discussion? But even more so, like what you just said, why is this on a political station? But everything's political all the time, it seems like.
Tommy does consumer advocacy, but that becomes political.
Well, even that does, right. If
It's
someone
true.
is in trouble and with a rental subsidy, why are they getting a subsidy? Or someone else didn't get paid by their boss, are they legal? I mean, now we have to dive into all the intricacies involved. It's not just the topic, it's who are they? Who are they? Why are they calling? And how does this fit into my political perspective? Have you ever heard somebody talking on talk radio and you're thinking to yourself, where does this guy fall politically? And you wait to listen to find out where and why the host is interviewing him because you're wondering, now wait, what's the point here? It's always, what's the point here? What are they pushing? What agenda are they pushing? The days of talk radio hosts being neutral and trying to suss out information on all sides, that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, it's
No.
Peter. The thing that I say all of us owe is Rush Limbaugh. And Mike Rosen was a conservative on air in Denver first, and we owe Mike that. But nationwide, the impact of Rush Limbaugh changes, this is my belief, changes the face of talk radio.
Absolutely.
And then, Limbaugh was an entertainer. Limbaugh, first of all, and I never met him, but I actually knew his brother and would talk to his brother a couple of times. But he knew that what he was doing was entertaining. He was a disc jockey. He was a top 40 jock. He jocked under the name of Jeff Christie. That was his top 40 name. And so he was a radio guy. He was one of us.
But he was one of the first people who came on and had an opinion about a position. He took the position and talked about it and challenged people to challenge his position. No one else did that. Peter, do you remember when they were trying to walk both sides of the fence?
Oh, of course.
It was cool to bring someone on and interview them, and you didn't have guests refusing because of your political leaning.
Well, but the great sadness in the world that I see is that when the Trump lies begin inside, not Trump, although he's telling the lie is being carried by people who destroyed. People didn't want to listen to talk radio. Why am I sitting here knowing full well that I'm being lied to? And they just bailed out of it. And now it has a chance to rebuild itself if it can.
You feel that's what really hit hard?
I think what happened was people got away from the business for those exact reasons. And, we had, Mandy and I have talked about it, and you had angry white guy radio.
Yeah, you did.
And
you kind of still do in a way.
But it was a turnoff. It was I don't want to listen to this guy and then the next guy and the next guy who by and large say the same things.
Well, that's what it's filled with. I mean, how first of all, with all the media the way it is leaning left, how did talk radio or talk or podcast become right-leaning? Most of them are. And most successful radio shows or podcasts, however you classify them, they are right-leaning. If you turn on talk radio and hear anything else, you're surprised.
But then why have we spent all morning talking about the decline?
Well,
look at the voter base.
Yeah.
Look at the voter base, especially in Colorado. You don't have as many Republicans. So if you're wondering where your listening audience is going, I mean, it's dwindling in this state.
My point.
But as people are getting younger, I hate to say this, you're seeing a trend with males starting to come back to the conservative side of the equation. But a lot of people are becoming more liberal in their views, and talk radio is not necessarily talking to them.
Well, it can
It's
as
definitely
long
not
as you
talking
don't, as long as you don't sit there with a hammer and pound somebody over the head for their immediate beliefs.
And that's the gap that Charlie Kirk was filling with a lot of.
He was great. That young man was great. Yes,
do you
sir.
think there would be a chance for a host who truly was trying to be objective and hear out liberals? And
No.
I don't think so, because you have to have a fervent audience
But what
to tune in and stay.
But Kirk was on this radio show, on this radio station. What made him great is he logically took these people on. He dared them. He went into their backyard and he had discussions with them. He didn't go gargle with razor blades and smack them over the head.
Oh, no, he intellectually challenged him.
It was wonderful. Sheriff, your thoughts?
I think that's exactly what his draw was, and I think to what Tom's trying to say, can you get that person that can attract an audience from
from both sides?
He did.
He at least brought people onto his show from both sides of the equation.
Yes.
I don't know if people who were supporters of those other mindsets necessarily came and listened for his whole show, but they might have come and at least listened to that argument. And that's the niche that guy filled, and he is missed. I mean, I don't know who replaces him, and it's kind of like the question you asked about Limbaugh. Who replaces him? Well, they're kind of irreplaceable. So you just wait for the next phenomenon to come along.
And that's why with Charlie Kirk, he was not, you could say the next Rush Limbaugh, but he had the wherewithal. He had the sense of himself. He had the wind in his sails. He had all the things you're looking for, and he was a young guy, and he was their guy. He took. I mean, I tell you, it broke my heart.
Do you think Ben Shapiro comes close?
No. I think
not yet.
No, yeah, now that could happen, but I think there's three. And this Peter saying this. The guys that I know that walked in the door, sat down, and got it. Dave Logan, Mike Rosen walked in, sat down, and got it. The same thing was true. Alan Berg was in recovery from alcohol. He was selling shoes and selling shirts, and they brought him in, sat him down, boom, he had it. Dave Logan took off his helmet, boom, had it. Rosen walked in and out of the business world, boom, had it. The other guys, you got to be a radio guy. You got to, and I think Charlie Kirk walked in and boom and got it.
Yeah.
But Limbaugh made his bones. He got fired a couple of times as a top 40 jock. He was one of us.
Yes.
He was a radio
and
guy.
He was one of the ones who dared not to take phone calls as well.
Well, one of the things, Chris Olinger went and watched him work in New York. It was tightly screened. It wasn't like catch as catch can. He had people later on in his career that they let on that would, give him a little bit of an argument, but that wasn't his point.
What do you think this trend some talk show hosts are doing on not taking calls?
I think it's wrong. I
mean, it takes the talk out of talk radio in a way.
Well, in Australia, it's called talk back radio. That's what they call talk radio. Talk back radio. And when you start you're
pontificating.
It's take the call, man. We'll do it next Saturday. We'll talk about all of this. Seriously, I mean, I can't do it today because we got so many people we wanted to get on. This is a listener show. But, man, you can't, you gotta, what was Berg without callers?
Right.
What was
he played off them. That was the integral part of his show.
Lived off
But nowadays, calls don't come in as easy as they used to because people are first impatient. They're busy. They don't have a place to. They just don't have the wherewithal.
We're jammed Monday through. I mean, I know. Sit down here at 9 o'clock in the morning. We jammed the lines because
we had every line filled for the entire 2 hours.
Sitting here,
Excuse me, for the entire two shows
Everybody
you and I did it.
Everybody, yeah.
And you couldn't fit them all in.
What are we getting here? What's going on the other side of the wall? We got a minute when it's to the break. Go ahead, Steve.
Would Alan it the same way today as it did when he was in his prime?
You know what?
Because of what you're talking about, the lack of callers. Could he still pull it off?
Yeah.
I think he could, but
Yeah.
I think it would still be fragmented because he would maybe be a hit online with a podcast. You have to take a radio show and do other things with it. Being a radio show alone will never, ever make it, ever.
You're right.
Never, not anymore. But, and a lot of people forget that Alan Berg was liberal. He was
flamer.
He was not conservative at all.
But that wasn't what made him work. What
Right.
made him work
His
was
talent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
he could have been
he
he could have been a communist. He could have been a fascist. It was Berg.
Yeah.
That's what made it work. Steve, thanks. I'll give you a call.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for doing the show. And I got an update for you on something else. Thank you, sir. You and I will come back and wrap it up together. Tom Martino, Peter Boyles, waiting for Billy Thorpe, 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS forecast for the Denver metro area calls for a cool start to what will be another warm weekend of fall weather here around the Central Rockies and High Plains. Here in the metro area, we're going to see high temperatures today and Sunday near 70. It'll be a beautiful Sunday afternoon for Broncos football. Dry through the weekend until Sunday night when a little shower activity is possible thanks to a trough of low pressure moving in, and that'll kick off cooler temperatures Monday into Tuesday, highs upper 50s. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Afternoon, everybody. What a great way to end this is with Billy Thorpe. Tom Martino's in studio. I'm Peter Boyles. We've been talking about talk, and he has been my guy. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, one half of the morning show here on 710 KNUS. And he started out, Billy, were you my intern or what? How did we meet?
That is a fun story because years ago you were going through the Ramses and your producer at the time wasn't showing up on time.
That's it.
And I was down the hall working Colorado Morning News, so I would run down the hall and I would run your board for the first 20, 30 minutes of the show. And then from there I started filling in, and then when he left, I became your producer. Yeah.
That's right. During the Rammers. That was a time.
Yes, it was during Ramsey, and it was chaos, and it was wonderful. And he just, for whatever reason, he just never showed up on time. So
we've been talking about the business all morning, and I've been what your thoughts? Because here you are, now you got a show.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Ugh. I lament the direction the business has gone based on consolidation, and also not understanding what makes radio different and stand out. There are times in which people wonder, why are people going to places like Twitch and watching people play video games? In part because they are still fulfilling that gap that radio used to. The guy that you see on the screen playing is talking to the people that are in the community. They're texting in messages. There are moderators that are producers behind the scenes that are putting certain things up on the screen. It's the same type of an idea. They're absorbing what radio used to do. Now radio is trying to become podcasts. So,
well, Bill, I'd like to get your perspective on that. When you say they're becoming podcasts, what do you mean?
I mean that so many radio shows don't look for the interaction with the audience directly.
I agree.
It's the only mass medium where you can immediately reach out and talk to the person that you're listening to or watching. You can't text to whatever news station you're watching at night for whatever news you're getting. You can't, text a podcast. You can't. There's nothing you can do. The only one that has that immediacy of interaction is radio.
Do you think Kyle Clark could take calls?
Ooh.
I one time tried some anchor people on my radio show. They were dismal failures. I'm not saying he would be. I don't know what he would do because they're scripted, and very, very small part of what they do is ad lib. Or all of us that were on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a little ad lib here and there, but as far as carrying on a conversation where you don't have an outline and you don't control it all, it's very difficult. You know that, Peter. I mean, it's throwing him into the lion's den.
Billy, you think you could take calls?
I don't know, because the way I've always looked at it is the person behind the anchor desk, that's someone that's been given sheet music and put on stage at Carnegie Hall. And they can hit every note perfectly, but talk radio is jazz. You have to be able to react to what everything else is going on, and I'm not sure he can play jazz. I don't know.
On the other hand, it does take a set of skills to. When you're in front of a camera and you're trying to keep a show moving, that is an entirely different set of skills. And to do that along with scripting and a few ad libs, I think it's admirable, and he does a really good job.
Yeah. Oh, it's an incredible skill because of reading script, understanding where the script's going, also being able to emote, understanding where they're going based on camera angles, how long is the video going to run. It is an absolute skill. Yeah.
When I'm watching, and Tom and I have been talking about this, and Billy, you've been in this business now quite a while, behind the scenes, and when you produced and you were part of everything that we did. Radio in America right now is facing challenges. You mentioned digital audio, the rivals, the radio remains a large medium, but what it struck me when I was trying to write an intro for the show is that the radio came around. It happened late in the 19th century. And as fast as, that standalone, it has survived. It's no longer in its infancy, is it, Tommy?
Oh, it's in its death knell.
You believe that?
I totally believe it. I mean, they have to look for other distribution means of distribution. But I'm telling you that talk radio and conventional radio as it exists is dying. You got to see that,
Billy.
Yeah, I agree. And what I go back to is over the past 15 to 18 years, every consultant that I've run across has come into the house and said, you guys need to focus on being local. Talk about being local. You need to interact with this local. You need to have your local host do local things.
Yep.
And everybody goes, thank you, thank you, thank you. They walk out the door, and the people higher up the totem pole look at it and go, how about we make this national? Can I make this regional? Can I take away the local? And so they slowly carved away what the consultants have said to them over 18 years. So what outcome are we expecting other
local
than
is the one
dying of the vine?
it's the one edge we have is being local.
It is. It's the one edge.
We have a definition of the consultants. They are a guy that comes from about 130 miles away and says he knows 175 different ways to make love.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't know any women.
But he doesn't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
they were that's the radio consultant. So Bill, you guys are doing well.
Thank you.
No, truly. What's going to happen? What do you think happens? I mean, you got a whole family. Jeff's got a family.
Yeah. Well, you got to start looking at spreading out. I mean, Jeff and I are looking at doing things that are totally different outside of the radio station. It's he and I together, but we're taking some concepts that don't necessarily work on the air and trying to spread that digital footprint. And we'll see what happens. But it's difficult because you're fighting an algorithm that is going to feed people certain things, because back in the day, you used to have to win based on that person turning the knob on that radio dial. Now the computer decides what radio stations you're even going to see on that dial.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really hard to break through.
And then once they get there, it's the time spent listening that people, but Peter understood that better than anyone I knew. He knows the audience changes about every 15 minutes. There's a lot of overlap, but you have to treat each 15 minutes with an update and let people know what you're doing. You can't assume you're going to lose them. If they tune in the middle of a discussion and you don't reset it at least every 15 or 20 minutes, they tune out because they can't catch up.
Billy?
Yeah. Howard Stern used to say that he would watch the clock in the studio, and when it got to 14 minutes after, he knew he had 60 seconds to say something outrageous to hang on to everybody else for the next 15 minutes, or they're going to go.
Content, my boy, is king.
Absolutely.
And if you can't do that, we got less than a minute. Next Saturday, it's the listeners. We had a packed house this morning with guests. Next week, folks, it's your turn. You want to come back?
Yeah.
You want to come back?
I might come back, Peter.
Right,
I think it's fun. I love it.
All right, you come back and co-host. William, you can drop in next week, too.
That'd be great.
I love what you guys are doing. Thank you, Billy. I'll talk to you. Have a good day, man. Thank you. Tommy, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, that
we'll do
would
the
be
show.
fun. Take callers. That would be fun.
All right, we're all set to go. Talk Radio, your turn next Saturday here on 710 KNUS. What do you think? We got some interesting email here this morning, and we'll go from there. So, how much time we got, son? We doing? We got a minute to go. So, do this, and don't forget December the 7th will be the toy run, and the tribute to Vinnie Terranova. So, to Joe Williams, Stephen Tubbs, Brother Jeff, Mandy Connell, Tom Martino, Jim Otto, and Bob from, of course, Children's Hospital, Patricia Calhoun, Jimmy Sengenberger, Steve Reams, Billy Thorpe, and me and you are back next week.
Yeah.
Do the show together. Next Saturday ought to be a red hot one. Again, thanks, you guys, and special thanks to Adam Walker, too. Good job. See you guys next week.